Welcome to Let's Talk About It, the podcast, where we shine a light on the change agents and everyday heroes who shape our communities. Here, we dive deep into the lived experiences of our guests, exploring the milestone moments that have either propelled them forward or changed their paths. We anchor every conversation in two foundational pillars of the Black community: books and music. Through this unique lens, we capture, entertain, and inform, weaving a rich tapestry of stories and insights that resonate, inspire, and spark meaningful dialogue. Join our host, TJ Lowery and Shatema Gresham, as they engage with thought leaders and community change agents to uncover the rich tapestry of experiences that shape our lives. Get ready for insightful discussions, unfiltered perspectives, and the celebration of Black excellence. Let's talk about it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About It, the podcast. I'm your girl TJ, right back at you for another episode. I'm so excited to dive into this episode, but before we do that, I've got to introduce my fabulous co-host, Shatema. How you doing, girl?
Hey, TJ.
Yeah, so what's up with you lately? What you got going on?
What we don't have going on in the streets.
I know, it's always something. What I wanted to share with the people, we talked about PTMG a couple shows ago. Okay. Your forte is recruiting.
It is.
And we're HR practitioners. Hit them up with about 3 tips from a recruiting standpoint that you would advise for their resume or for their job search. What's your top 3 tips you tell them to make sure that they've got together?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, my sweet spot is talent management, recruitment. I've been doing that for over 20 years. The first thing I would probably say on your resume to get around AI, that the job you're seeking needs to be infiltrated in the resume. Most applicant tracking systems are using some sort of AI, and they're looking for specific keywords. And if those keywords are not on the resume, then it's not going to pull up in the search. Yeah. So if you want to be a manager, you better put something like, I've managed this process. If you're looking for consulting, you need to have some of those buzzwords in there. A good trick is take their job descriptions and incorporate some of the words on their job descriptions. Usually the first 3 bullet points on the job descriptions are their must-haves. The longer the job descriptions are, the preferred are nice haves are going to be lower, but the things that they really want are usually going to be in their first 3 bullet points. And I definitely would take some of those words and put it on your resume. The next thing I always tell people is when you are interviewing, most hiring managers are looking at energy. So if you can go in there with good energy, big energy, be engaged, ask questions. For some reason, as leaders, we believe energy will mimic production. And so even if your resume is not, very strong or maybe a little skinny, if you go in the interview with good energy, high energy, good morning, hello, and engage with them, for some reason we think that equates to a superstar hire. So I tell people to increase their energy, make sure their resume has those keywords in there, and then the last tidbit that I tell people is when you are called in for an interview, speak to that front desk receptionist person. They hang out with their hiring manager all the time. They see them every morning. They speak to them. And so if you come in, the interview starts when you walk in the building. It starts with that person who's sitting at the desk. If you engage them and say hello when you leave, I guarantee you they're going to be like, that TJ was in here. She was so nice. Yeah. She told me good morning. She sat there and spoke to me. Are you going to hire her? And we hear that as hiring managers. So I tell people, if you get the interview, whoever's at that front desk, whoever welcomes you in, make sure that you engage that person and know that your interview starts then, because when they go to the break room or they see that hiring manager later, they're going to ask, about you coming in here or whatever conversations you have. So don't take your cell phone calls in that lobby. and things like that.
I like it. Those are some good tips. Now, this is the recruiter, the specialist in talent recruiting and talent act. I personally don't like it. And I don't like to recruit because I am an energy person, to your point, and I feel like that energy, authenticity is the highest or vibration of energy you can feel, right? When people are authentic, we can feel that. And that's why we want that. And a lot of times, early on, I can kind of gauge based on their responses, based on what I've seen. And so I don't really want to go through the hour. And I know that's bad, but I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to. I do enjoy the people aspect, but I want to just jump off of some of those tips. Your resume is your story, right? It should tell a story about who you are. 4-page resumes, I'm not interested, right? I really don't care how long you've been in the industry. There should be a way that you can condense that to some solid information, because now you have AI, to get through recruiting. You've got talent acts, and then you still have me, the hiring manager, and we don't want to spend a lot of time on the resume. So make it pop out for us quick and easy, because you don't have to put everything in there. You'll be able to tell me your story, but give me some impact and make your story really speak to who you are. So my 2 is that, and keeping it short, and then interview. Learn something about the company, right? When people come in and they have never looked us up, with all the social spaces people are in, you can go find the YouTube. You need to know a little bit about the brand that you're working for. I don't need you to know everybody, but you should at least have done a little bit of homework. And then please know your compensation strategy, right? We know what the job is posted for. You should also know where you want to be. And so you should be able to have a very healthy discussion about the salary. I'm not saying make a decision in the interview, but there should be a space for you to ask and talk about, your desired salary. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some HR resume and interviewing tips before we get into today's show. But now, drum roll, please. Who are you introducing us to, Shatema?
Absolutely, TJ. Well, I am excited. We have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Whitney Harvey, CEO of Gen 38 and the Self-Coach Lawyer. She is an esteemed business strategist, consultant, and motivational speaker who integrates legal expertise, wellness, and practice. And on top of all that, let's go over these nice credentials that she holds. She holds her Juris Doctorate from ASU's University Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, and is pursuing her doctorate in philosophy in general psychology with a specialization in industrial and organizational psychology. Welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for having me.
Ow.
Yes. And looking beautiful as ever. Very, very appropriately dressed for today's show.
Yes.
So I'm excited for you to bring that big, big energy, right?
Yes, always.
So one of the things before we jump in, I do need to know, what is Gen 38? I've not heard about Gen 38. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Gen 38 is honestly, I had the Self-Coach Lawyer for lawyers and legal professionals, and I'm talking about breaking down barriers and systemic barriers on the legal side of things. And I just found that people were really gravitating towards that message, but they thought, well, it's only for lawyers. So I'm like, okay, I need another company or business that really matches that same energy for community advocates, people that are doing community building. And, a lot of that is happening in corporations. So Gen 38 was this kind of like birthing process of me in this passionate era of this is my true passion.
Gotcha.
I want to talk about community healing, and that's where I really bring the breath work to community events.
Okay.
So that's Gen 38. I do a lot and talk a lot about similar things, but this is truly heavy on the healing, and I'm leading with healing, not just burnout.
Love that. So we brought you out in June for one of our most well-attended events, DEI Town Hall, which we did experience some of the breath work. I take it that's Gen 38. And then I also want to know, what is your thoughts on DEI now with everything that I see the deep inhale. I need to know, like, you got out in these streets and you were doing the work, explaining about DEI, telling us why it's so difficult for them to buy in. And so now, what is your thoughts on what's happening, Whitney?
Yeah. It's been difficult. I even found myself, like, at the end of, the summer, I had done a whole round of panels on DEI. And by the end of it, one of the last presentations was literally me, like, tearing up, getting choked up in the middle of it. And I'm like, okay, this is time for me to take a little pause. Like, I used the summer to really take a break away from speaking on those topics, from immersing in it, because, that's our lived experiences.
Right.
So then to try to process some of it and talk about it publicly can be really difficult. And then I'm teaching a class now at ASU in the business law undergraduate program. Yeah. And it's legal aspects of diversity in the workplace. So I'm trying to teach that to, 20 to 22-year-olds. And that's been another challenge for me, of trying to make it relevant to them.
Right.
So, I don't have, like, any pushback really on, like, that we see socially around the topics, but it's more convincing to the relevancy because they haven't had any life experience.
Right.
So that's a whole nother level, but I look at it as an opportunity because there isn't such this resistance. There's an open-mindedness around it and just a curiosity, and I can work with that. I can work with curiosity, but, people being completely shut down to it, I don't want to be in the business of convincing.
Yeah.
So right now, I think personally, for my mental and emotional well-being, I want to go to spaces where they recognize already the importance of DEI. I'm not trying to go into spaces to convince about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. We were trying to look at governance around, AI to protect the work DEI has done. We were very concerned at the biases in there. And so, we really still need to preserve what we have. And so I like that strategy to stop focusing on turning people and focus on those who are already there. Yeah. Maybe we can build enough, momentum in that space to bring people in. So really just needed to tap into that a little bit. I do want to jump into our icebreaker called Let's Talk About It. So we'll ask you a question and just give us the answer quick, first thought that comes to mind. This one, favorite hip hop artist. Who's your favorite hip hop artist?
Ooh, Future.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Controversial over there.
Love that.
To piggyback off of that, what's your favorite hip hop music video?
Video. Probably, and the song I can't think of, but with Lil' Kim with the different wigs.
Oh, yeah.
Crush on You.
Crush
Yes.
on You.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Iconic.
Yes.
Wait, isn't that the one DJ Envy's daughter did for
Yes.
Halloween, which was controversial?
Yeah.
She did all her looks.
She did.
And so, that was a big old. What's the best R&B album of all time for you?
Mary J. Blige.
Ooh,
I love that. It's one of my favorites.
Yes, we've heard that.
It's still like a classic. You can play it
start to
anytime.
end.
I am Team Mary.
Yes.
Pop song that always gets you dancing.
Pop song, I would say Britney Spears' Toxic.
Ooh.
Right?
Toxic. I heard it when you said it. We gonna dance. We over here dancing to the music in our head. What's heavy in rotation on your playlists?
I like JT from the City Girls.
Okay.
Doechii. Who else?
I like Doechii.
Yes, for sure.
She can dance.
Ooh. I feel like I'm late to discovering her, but I love the music.
Yeah. I've just discovered her too, so we might be, but it's never too late because she be out there getting it.
Yes.
She is out there.
Yes.
So.
In your opinion, what's the most underrated artist?
Ooh. I'm going to, okay, twofold. So Doja Cat, I would say current. And then historical, I was always a Bone Thugs and Harmony fan. And I just think they were visionaries before their time because I still listen to their music. I'm like, that was so cutting edge, but they didn't get the credit.
No.
Yeah, we weren't ready fully.
We weren't ready.
Yeah.
What is your favorite genre of music? What's your go-to?
Hip hop for sure. Rap, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you first fall in love with hip hop?
I would go back to 5th grade. It was Bone Thugs and Harmony. I don't know what my exposure was, but one of my best friends in 5th grade that bonded us. We would just stay up all night playing the music. We had our crushes. She liked Crazy Bone.
I was like Crazy Bone.
I liked Busy Bone. I always seem to like the ones that are a little rebellious. So.
That's our inside.
Right. That really was.
Oh, I like that. So then speak to that in terms of how you got into your career. How did you break into your career?
Yeah. So on the lawyer side, that was definitely like a seed that was planted for my mom. So it was like law school or medical school, pick one. And at first I thought I was going to do medical school. And I don't know where the shift really happened, but I think it was just some guidance along the way, some teachers. I would do mock trials, and everyone was like afraid to go up against me in class.
I love that.
And one of my teachers in high school, it was a criminal justice class. He said, "Have you thought about going to law school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going back and forth between that and medical school." So I think those nudges, those kind of cues, got me thinking like this is where I'm gonna really go. So that's how I got started, and I knew that going into college, that was my route, going to law school after this.
All right. So that's the intro to your song, the song, The Sounds of Whitney. When did the beat drop in your career?
Ooh, when did the beat drop? Probably. Okay, so the beat drop, is that supposed to be a good thing or bad
So
thing?
the beat drop, it follows the first 16 bars of the song. I should have shared this with you. It would be that moment when your career took off. Ooh. When did the beat drop?
Honestly, I feel like it took some time. And I would say probably 8 or 9 years in. And that was because I had moved around a couple of times. I had gotten more confident in being authentic. In my workplace, I went from a big firm to like smaller. And I was getting more aligned with the places I wanted to work in and more confident. So it was less of the imposter syndrome and more of, I got this, I know what I'm doing, and I can be strategic in the way I navigate the space and the way I handle my cases.
Did you feel like firm was more competitive versus the small? That's what I felt like, this energy of I've got to compete. So now so the anxiety just increases then, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So competitive. A little bit like high school too, where, they can kind of put you up against each other. They showed what everyone's billable hours were. They had a report that got circulated. Oh, yeah.
So you needed to be on top.
You did. And if you had a bad month, now you have not just the partners looking at it. You have your friends or peers. Like, oh, okay, we got her.
Yeah.
So not the healthiest of environments, especially, as my first place I worked or, first couple places. So, yeah.
Never thought about it like that.
Cutthroat.
It feels like it.
Yeah. Well, what about the verse? So the verse is the part of the song that's used to advance the plot and make up the majority of the song. What was the verse on this personal soundtrack that we're talking about?
The verse. Okay. Well, and I don't know what the next part of the song is, because I'm like, maybe that's not the verse. But I think it was during the pandemic, me deciding that I really wanted to pivot and make this career my own. I wasn't as afraid to go after it. So I was like, okay, I want to do a little bit of practice, but I want to do some other things. I want to teach, I want to speak, and have more fun with work. So that was kind of that's what I keep coming back to. Anytime I'm doing things I don't really enjoy, I'm like, I need to get back to why I have evolved anyways out of full-time practice. I want to have fun. I want to have more enjoyable experiences in my career.
Can you share some of your most difficult career challenges and how you navigated through those? We just talked about some of the competitiveness. I can only imagine it was male dominated. What were some of those career challenges that you had to navigate through?
Yeah, so I would say early on it was because of the competition. If there was a few of us women, working for a male partner, everyone's trying to vie for that attention, get the, glamour cases, get the glamour clients. So there was that. And then after that, I would say, I was always working in predominantly, white environment. So I'm still trying to navigate showing up authentically, but not standing out in a bad way.
Right.
So I think it was, when I got to a work environment where I had my first Black supervisor, I was super excited because I'm like, wow, I've never seen this, especially us both being women lawyers. And it just wasn't a positive experience. There was some competition there. And I think, unfortunately, I grew a lot through that, but it was very challenging to have to navigate that. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was. And now I look back at it more with compassion because I see just kind of that dynamics of what we were up against. So I don't think it was like a her thing or a me thing. It was just situational.
The environment.
Yeah, the environment.
It's the environment. And that's what we have to remember when we are going through our lived experience. Our environment is going to impact us good or bad. Yeah. And even in that case, I'm sure outside of work, it would have been a different, dynamic. But in that space, being two Black women and all the, we can only imagine. So let's talk about the chorus. It's the heart of the song. It captures the main message and the emotional essence. It's the part most people remember and sing along to. When you think about your career, what has been the core message, and also your personal life, your core message in your career and personal life?
Yeah, definitely not being afraid to pivot. Like, don't be afraid to pivot. I think a lot of times we, make decisions based on information we have at the time.
Right.
And we can always change our mind. And I think I had to, that's the core thing I've done. At first when I was working with a lot of firms, I was moving around, pivoting, in work environments, different practice areas. Then I pivoted to entrepreneurship. So then it was like, okay, how do I navigate this? I've never been an entrepreneur, never desired it, didn't have any entrepreneurs in my immediate family. So now I'm trying to figure that out. So, I think it's just always being like, I can change my mind. It's okay. And the skills are transferable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're not really starting over. You're starting over, but you're not really starting over.
And you're only expanding, right?
Yeah.
When you've done this and now you've done this, you're transferring those skills, but as a person, you're expanding your experience. Yes. And so I love that you also have the support system to help you navigate that. I know your mom introduced us saying, you need to get out here and meet people. And, we've been hitting it off since. We need to get our lunch date rescheduled, but it's a good thing for us to know it's okay to pivot, right?
Yeah,
that pandemic too, that was a pivot for Shatema.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking when you were talking, being an entrepreneur myself, I have to remind myself I can make the rules. So you're used to living and executing for someone else. And, there was some SOP or standard work or, you've been kind of preconditioned to do this. And then I'm like, well, hold on. You don't have to start working until 10. You don't have to wake up and do this first or, do that. You can make the rules, and what that grind looks like for you may be different. And it doesn't mean that it's not right. Right. So I can definitely appreciate that. And then I also, one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned as an entrepreneur is you got to figure it out. So even though those skills are transferable, you're tapping into different aspects of those skills, right? Of negotiation, reviewing the contracts. Networking looks a little different as an entrepreneur as it did in other spaces. So I definitely can relate to that being kind of that pivot and continually pivoting.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge, I think, coming from corporate to entrepreneurship is in corporate, we have more resources, right? You're working for this organization, and, you know, you can print all you want and do all these things. And when it's on you and your dime, it looks very different.
Right. Where's that QR code?
Well, it's you then being in the restaurant as the host, the waitress, the chef. You go cook it, come serve it. You know, that's the difference between entrepreneurial. But you get it done, you know, to Shatema's point, and you shift and make it happen.
So the final piece of this soundtrack is the bridge. The bridge helps break up the repetitiveness of the song. It adds an element of surprise, often presenting a new angle to the main idea. What is the bridge to your song?
So I would say, I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's now me really, you know, starting to disconnect more and more from just that lawyer identity side and show more of that Black woman side. And that's where, you know, doing Gen 38, doing community breathwork events where we have hip hop music, you lay down on a mask, you're on a mat, put on your eye mask, and like have some breathwork release around hip hop music is unconventional, right? And then us like going on a tour to do it city to city is something that I don't think anybody saw coming for me. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just where my heart is leading me to go. And having fun with it. And we're going to turn it into, you know, hopefully being at music festivals, having, you know, yoga instructors, like doing an element of twerk, you know, too, like twerk workshops in it. Just really like full body, like embodiment for women, confidence, empowerment. That's really where I'm headed. So I think that that's where people didn't see that coming, but it's really at the top of my focus right now.
I would be in there dancing, doing some hip hop breath work. I'd be trying to hit the beats.
Singing along. I know that's right.
Well, if they can do yoga with pigs, then surely you can do, you know, breathing with hip hop.
Absolutely.
I hear you saying I'm more than just a lawyer. You know, I am more than just, and I love that for you. You know, just being able to express all those things inside you want to do, you want to be, but look what it's given to the community. I think that's where your return's going to come back, and you'll just keep doing it because you love it, and people are being, you know, they're getting something from that. So I love that. It's inspiring. It's community change agent.
Yes.
So what is the song, your go-to song, Whitney, that'll help push you through those tough times? Or like in my case, when I'm ready to go in and to work and I know it's going to be war. What's that go-to song for you that you're going to put on?
You know, I like right now, it's a song by Future called Crushed Up. And it's not heavy on the like war music, but it's just there's a lot of metaphors in there, and it's really about envisioning and manifestation. And like that's really where I'm headed. I've used to view manifestation in a very different way of like just sit and wait, like, okay, I want to manifest this. But there is some activity around it. Like you don't have to like hustle the hardest, and you know, it doesn't have to look like burnout. But you have to get clear on what you want, and then you have to make action towards that. And so that song to me is really inspiring for that. So even if you're going into this work environment or a place that you don't currently want to be in, you're envisioning what the ultimate goal is and how you're going to get out of there. So that's one of my favorites.
What's the name of it again?
Crushed Up.
Crushed Up. All right. So it'll help us set our intentions when we're manifesting and then move into action. All right.
Love Future.
Crushed Up. Yes. I know, I'm hearing it. We got to check out more Future.
I know. Who'd have thought?
Full of surprises.
Whitney said, right? Whitney said.
What album would you recommend for our guests to listen to?
Ooh.
A start to finish, like if they haven't already.
Start to finish.
We want to hear all of it.
You know, that is a good question. I still love Chronic 2000 by Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Like, that's one that I probably, like, that's what I'm trying to think of the last album. I mean,
West Coast baby over there.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure there's some after that, but that was like, boom, where my brain went to of, even now I can hear it. And I'm like, I love this.
Right.
Love this song.
Love that. We'll
Yeah.
take that West Coast.
Absolutely.
So this has been such a great conversation. The inspiration. I mean, I'm feeling it. I'm hoping the audience is getting that too. You are doing your thing out there. Tell everybody where they can find you on social, Whitney.
Yeah, so thank you. I love being here. It's always so good to see you. If you want to further connect, I'm on Instagram, whitney.m.harvey.esq. And I'm also, on LinkedIn as well, but you can find me on my other socials for Instagram on Gen38. That's really what's going to be taking off in the future.
Gen 38. I'll make sure I follow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Whitney. It's always our pleasure hanging out with you here. We're so glad that you took some time to give us some pearls to think about, and we hope that the viewers had a great time listening to you as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Once again, I'm Shatema Gresham. I am the CEO of Procure Talent Management Group. We specialize in talent management. I'm also the VP of Professional Development and Membership with the Black HR Society. You can find Procure on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you can also find me at ShatemaWeWantToTalkAboutIt.com.
I'm Tawani Vaughn, also known as TJ Lowery. We want to thank you for joining us. We also want to thank our sponsor, the Black HR Society, for making a meaningful difference in the lives of Black HR professionals here in the Valley. You can find the Black HR Society on all social platforms at the Black HR Society. Find us on IG at Black HR Society. If you want to reach out to me, you want to be a sponsor, you want to be on the show, or you know someone who'd make a great guest, you can email me, tj@wewanttotalkaboutit.com, because we want to talk about it with you. We're so glad you came and joined us today. We look forward to you coming on back next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into Let's Talk About It, the podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found inspiration in the stories and experiences shared. We trust that you were entertained, learned something new, and felt inspired by today's show. Be sure to subscribe, like, follow, share, and join us for the next episode. Until then, keep the conversation going and let's keep talking about it.